Trafford is distinctive, it's iconic, they call it the Theatre of Dreams.
It is that history, isn't it? It's 112 years old. You could show anyone a picture of it and everyone would know that's Manchester United's home ground.
When you walk up to it, you do get a sense of the scale of it, it's big.
Look at that, that's an iconic view.
I've had so many great memories here, the great matches, the great players.
Huge goal! That's fantastic by David Beckham.
And Manchester United are through.
Rooney! Emphatic sensation here at Old Trafford.
The issue with Old Trafford is it's falling apart in places, it really is.
I think it's just been a gradual decline.
There hasn't been major investment since the Glazers took over.
We're getting left behind on the pitch, and there's a danger that we're going to get left behind off it as well.
Old Trafford should be the jewel in the crown really for any club, but it's fallen behind the times because they haven't kept improving and renovating. There's been new stadiums being built for a number of clubs, so I suppose at some point United fans were going to ask, well, do we need a new stadium? Is Old Trafford really fit for purpose?
A lot of fans, I guess if you speak to them, would say it's since the Glazers took over 17 years ago. They believe that money hasn't been invested into the stadium to keep it up to the standards of the likes of City, Tottenham, Arsenal.
They see themselves as, you know, the biggest club in the world, certainly the biggest club in England. They should have a stadium that matches that, and at the time when they took over, it was that. I mean, it's still the second largest stadium in the country, behind Wembley, the biggest club stadium in the country. But when you're in there, there's so many things that are kind of dilapidated and falling apart in terms of the closeness of the seats, the concourses being quite crowded, the roof obviously leaking. I mean, that was the major thing, wasn't it, a few years ago when you literally had journalists, you had fans getting soaked on because the roof wasn't up to scratch. I mean, that's a basic thing, surely.
The expectations have changed massively. Some of the biggest clubs in the world have moved stadiums, and you look at their stadiums, you look at the facilities, you look at how they've moved with the times. These are the sort of clubs that you'd put on the same level or a similar level to Manchester United, and then you think, well, why aren't United doing that? Why aren't we moving with the times?
Anfield has been redeveloped in an impressive way. Tottenham's new stadium has all things that we probably wouldn't have even considered, right?
That Tottenham stadium, they put the cup on the beer and the beer comes straight up. The last time they modernised here, I don't think anyone would have even thought that was a thing.
I think the major thing to put into focus was the Super League. Manchester United fans were one of the ones that really reacted strongly against that, obviously getting the game against Liverpool postponed by going on the pitch. And I think that put into sharp focus the owner's mind in terms of actually engaging with fans.
They've set up a fan advisory board, they've been talking about redevelopment to the stadium, and the most recent development is that they have appointed master planners to oversee the development. So their job is basically to come up with various different proposals and plans. They will be discussed through at board level, they'll also be discussed through at fan level as well, and then the hope is that they're going to get a new state-of-the-art stadium, but what that's going to look like at the moment we don't really know. If they want to be up there with the best in terms of facilities, then they're going to have to strip it all back and not necessarily demolish the whole thing. If you look what Real Madrid have done with their stadium, they've managed to keep it but modernise it. I think something like that might be the best balance to keep the history, keep the prestige that it's got, whilst bringing it in line with the modern stadiums that we've seen and the facilities that they offer.
I think you can do things with the bowl. There's space underneath the Stretford end, there's space underneath the Sir Alex Ferguson stand that you could actually make into a more inclusive atmosphere for fans to go early and kind of be a part of it and chat and mingle.
If you look at the South Stand, it is just that one tier, so they are going to expand the capacity. That is the place to do it really, but there's been logistical reasons in the past and obviously big financial reasons as to why they've not done it.
Right behind the Sir Bobby Charlton stand there's a railway line, and it's literally, you know, about 10 yards away, so they haven't been able to build a stand over that railway line. Just the engineering and the cost of it is very difficult.
Without getting into cliches, where there's a will, there's a way. If you wanted to build a better stadium, if you wanted to expand this stadium, you can do it. We've been doing that for over 100 years. This stadium isn't the same stadium it was when we first moved here.
The last thing that got done at the stadium was the quadrant, and that was 2006. This would be the first major redevelopment since the Glazers took over.
I know there's a big emotional attachment to this ground. I've got one myself, but I wouldn't be against a massive rebuild. I really wouldn't. Sometimes you've got to do something a little bit drastic for drastic times, and I think when you look at where Manchester United are at the moment and where we want to be, then maybe it does take something like a new stadium to help us get there.
You can see there's a lot of land around the stadium. It's possible they could build a new stadium on this site and still play at this stadium whilst they built the new one and then switch over, so there'd be no need to do a ground share. One of the ideas in one of the plans would be to have a mini second stadium here, like that we see at Manchester City, the women's team play there. I think that would be a great idea to get more visibility, more people going to women's games, and also the under-23s as well. Like Leigh Sports Village is not the easiest place to get to.
I would be very surprised if it actually happened for the reasons of money, for the fact that actually Old Trafford still has a bit of a magical quality to it, and when push comes to shove, do you really want to demolish it and build anew?
Manchester United can move to a new stadium or can completely rebuild this stadium, keep the traditions, keep the history, keep everything that makes Manchester United great, and hopefully improve on it.
Theatre of bad dreams. The ground is old, the infrastructure's naff. We've got to move on. We've got to say, right, do what Spurs have done, but we definitely need a new ground.
Moving to a new ground would mean uprooting a lot of history, and I don't think we want that.
It's iconic, isn't it? It's history. It just needs a bit of a polish of it, an upgrade, doesn't it?
I know people moan, but I don't really see the problem with what we've got.
Old Trafford's great.
Amazing stadium.
I like it how it is.
I think it's the best ground in England.
I've been to a number of other football grounds. It's a lot better there. Like, the fan experience is a lot nicer.
OK, it needs a bit of a paint up and some better food and drink options. I get all that, but I think that could be done without having to knock it down.
Way too much history in it to knock it down and potentially rebuild it.
As long as they don't get rid of my seat, I'm not bothered.
Thanks for checking out the BBC Sport YouTube channel. Remember to give this video a like and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell button so you never miss an upload. See you soon.